Part 1. The Man Who Became a Rifle. Stalingrad, October 1942. The city was no longer a city. It was a bleeding skeleton of concrete, ash, and twisted iron. Smoke covered the sky like a funeral shroud, and the Volga ran black with oil and blood. In the middle of this nightmare, a young man with calm eyes walked through the rubble carrying a rifle, as if it were part of his own body. Vasily Zaitsev. A shepherd's son from the Ural Mountains, a hunter who had grown up tracking wolves and elk, a man who had never imagined he would one day hunt something far more dangerous. He was quiet, polite, almost shy, but when he raised his rifle, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. 1. Arrival in Hell. Zaitsev crossed the Volga under heavy fire, German shells exploding in the water, turning soldiers into red clouds. Men screamed, boats sank, officers shouted prayers instead of orders. When he finally reached the western bank, a Soviet sergeant grabbed him by the collar. "Welcome to Stalingrad, comrade. If you want to live, keep your head down. If you want to be a hero, stand up. Your choice." Vasily simply nodded. "I didn't come to die," he said quietly. "I came to work." The sergeant laughed. "You'll fit right in." 2. First Blood. 3 days later, Vasily lay in a ruined factory, his cheeks covered in dust, the city trembling around him. A German soldier appeared between the broken walls, helmet shining faintly. Vasily exhaled. His finger pressed the trigger. The German fell silently. Another appeared. Another shot. Another body. Soviet infantry nearby watched with widening eyes. "Who's that?" one whispered. A lieutenant replied, "Zaitsev, remember his name." By nightfall, Vasily had taken down 12 enemy soldiers, but this was only the beginning. 3. The Sniper's Path. The Soviet command quickly realized what they had. In Stalingrad, a good sniper wasn't just support. He was a nightmare for the enemy, a ghost in the ruins, a weapon of fear. Zaitsev soon received a Mosin Nagant rifle with a scope. Not perfect, not fancy, but deadly in his hands. He hunted through ruined factories, collapsed buildings, burned out train cars, shattered apartments, sewer tunnels, and even the top of a destroyed department store. He moved like a shadow. He shot like a machine. He disappeared before anyone could return fire. His motto was simple: one shot, one German. By mid-November 1942, Zaitsev had over 200 confirmed kills. 4. Teaching death. Commanders didn't just want him killing, they wanted him teaching. Every day, Vasily gathered new snipers under his command. He showed them how to hide under rubble for hours, how to control their breath, how to see movement others overlooked, how to shoot without hesitation. One young soldier asked him, "Comrade Zaitsev, how do you kill so calmly?" Vasily looked him in the eyes. "I don't shoot people," he said softly. "I shoot enemies. If I don't, they will kill my brothers." His students listened and learned, and soon they became ghosts too. The Germans began to whisper a new word across the front: Zaitsev, the hunter of Stalingrad. 5. The duel begins. By December, German command was furious. Their officers were dying, their scouts were disappearing, morale was collapsing. They sent one of their best, Major Erwin König, or Thorwald, history argues. A sniper duel unlike any in history began. 3 days, no sleep, no food, only 2 predators crawling through a graveyard of concrete. Zaitsev said later, "I did not breathe. I did not blink. I became my rifle." Finally, he saw it, a faint reflection from Koenig's scope under a steel plate. Vasily aimed, pulled the trigger. The duel ended. The greatest hunter in Stalingrad stood up from the dust, exhausted but victorious. Vasily Zaitsev, Part 2. The School of Hunters. Stalingrad, December 1942. The duel with Major Koenig spread through the ruins like wildfire. Snipers whispered about it in basements. Infantry repeated it around fires. Even hardened commissars nodded with respect. But Vasily didn't care for recognition. He wiped his rifle, cleaned the scope, checked the bolt. "To work," he said, always. The battle for the city raged endlessly. Buildings collapsed, streets were fused with metal, and the winter cold cut through uniforms like knives. In this frozen hell, Zaitsev became something more than a sniper. He became a teacher. 1. The birth of a sniper school. In a cramped basement of a collapsed apartment block, Vasily gathered his students. Kulikov, sharp-eyed, young, nervous. Chepurnov, steady, patient. Anakin, fearless, reckless. And dozens of others who wanted to learn the art of killing from the best hunter in the city. Zaitsev laid his Mosin Nagant across a crate and spoke quietly. "This is not a weapon. This is your life." He taught them how to hide behind pipes, how to use burnt furniture as cover, how to make a ghillie suit out of rags and ash, how to blend with the dead when necessary. "Your enemy is not the man," Zaitsev whispered. "It's his movement, his confidence. Take that, and the man dies on his own." He showed them how to bite down on a handkerchief to suppress breath, wait hours without shifting, fire between heartbeats, disappear into shadows. Within weeks, his students were claiming kills of their own. Within a month, some surpassed 20, 30, 40 kills. Zaitsev smiled quietly. "These men," he said to a commissar, "will outlive me." 2. The Factory of Death. The fiercest fighting took place around the Red October factory, the Dzerzhinsky tractor plant, and the Barricadi gunworks. Labyrinths of steel beams, pipes, smoke, and fire. Everything smelled of rust, oil, and death. Zaitsev and his partner Nikolai Kulikov lay in the ruins of a collapsed crane, waiting for German engineers who were trying to repair a machine gun nest. Kulikov whispered, "Vasya, how long do we wait?" Vasily didn't move. "Until one breath becomes two," he said. Kulikov frowned. "What does that mean?" "You'll know." Minutes stretched into hours. Snow fell silently. German voices echoed through the metal cavern. Then it happened. One breath, two. A tiny exhale from behind a beam. Vasily fired. The German fell. "You see?" he whispered. Kulikov nodded slowly. He was learning. 3. One shot, one legend. In January 1943, temperatures dropped to -25 degrees Celsius. The Volga froze. German forces starved in their trenches. Zaitsev's kill count climbed relentlessly. 225 confirmed, 300 estimated, and likely more lost to the chaos of war. But Vasily kept no personal tally. When a young soldier asked him, "Comrade Zaitsev, is it true you have killed over 300?" Vasily shrugged. "I've killed enough." "What does that mean?" "It means the city still stands." 4. The sniper versus the invisible enemy. But the Germans learned. They began sending decoys, mannequins, helmets on sticks, false movements, shadows created by mirrors. Zaitsev treated it like a chess game. One afternoon, while covering a Soviet advance through the ruins of a school, he spotted what looked like a German shin behind a cracked wall. A trick, too obvious. He scanned the area. Then he saw it, a faint glint of frost on metal between bricks. Scope reflection. Tiny, almost invisible. Vasily inhaled, exhaled, paused. His rifle cracked. The glint vanished. A body slumped behind the wall. His students stared in awe. Kulikov whispered, "How did you see that?" Zaitsev answered, "I didn't look at the wall. I looked at the mistake." 5. The wound. In late January, a German artillery shell detonated near his position. The blast threw Vasily backward, slamming him into concrete. He felt fire across his face, hot, searing. His vision went white, then red. He tried to stand but collapsed. Hands grabbed him, voices shouting, "Zaitsev is hit! Medic! Medic!" He was dragged into a basement. A surgeon examined him. Shrapnel, his eyes. My God. Vasily whispered through blood, "Will I see?" The surgeon paused. "We will do everything." Darkness swallowed him. 6. Through the shadows. Zaitsev awoke in a field hospital. Bandages wrapped his eyes and head. He couldn't see. He heard nurses whisper, "That's Zaitsev, the sniper, the hero." He heard boots approaching, a familiar voice. Marshal Vasily Chuikov. "The city owes you," Chuikov said. "You fought like 20 men." Zaitsev whispered, "I want to go back." Chuikov placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've done your part. Let us finish the rest." After several surgeries, Vasily regained partial sight. Enough to read, enough to live, but never enough to hunt the way he once did. The rifle that had become part of his body was taken from his hands. Vasily Zaitsev, Part 3. The War That Never Left Him. Spring, 1943. When Vasily's bandages were removed for the last time, the world returned to him in blurred shapes and softened colors. His vision was damaged but functional. He could walk, he could read, he could live. But the city he had defended for months, Stalingrad, was now a graveyard, a smoking, shattered skeleton of what once was. Vasily stepped out of the field hospital on trembling legs. Snow melted around craters and broken bricks. Crows perched on piles of rubble like black punctuation marks. He looked upon the ruins where he'd hunted, taught, killed, and almost died. It felt like visiting his own tomb. A young soldier approached shyly. "Comrade Zaitsev, may I shake your hand?" Vasily nodded, though his heart tightened. The boy's eyes were filled with awe. "You saved the city," he said. Vasily shook his head. "No, the city saved itself." 1. The silence after the storm. Zaitsev was sent east, away from the front. He trained soldiers, inspected rifles, taught marksmanship. But the war was no longer the same. He wasn't crawling through rubble. He wasn't hunting. He wasn't a ghost. He was Vasily again, the shepherd's son, a soldier without a battlefield. At night, he dreamed of broken staircases, of Germans appearing between pipes, of the glint of scopes in frozen rubble, of Koenig's cold eyes, of Kulikov shouting, of the factory's metallic heartbeat. Sometimes he woke with his hands curled around an invisible rifle. Sometimes he whispered, "One shot." His wife would touch his shoulder, calming him. "It's over, Vasya," she'd say softly. But for him, it never fully was. Second Victory Day. May 9th, 1945. Moscow sang. Flags waved. People flooded the streets, crying with joy. Vasily stood among them, feeling the noise vibrate through his chest like a drum. He smiled. He cheered. But deep inside, he felt a strange emptiness. He had given everything to win the war: his eyes, his youth, his innocence, his sleep, his peace. And now that peace was here, he felt unprepared. A colonel recognized him in the crowd. "Zaitsev, why aren't you on the stage? They're honoring the heroes." Vasily shook his head. "I fought for victory, not applause." The colonel laughed. "You're a strange man, Zaitsev." "I know." And Vasily walked away quietly. 3. Returning home. He returned to the Ural Mountains, to the same landscapes where he once hunted elk with his grandfather. But the mountains felt smaller, the forests quieter, the animals less fearful. He worked as a clerk in a military factory. He married a nurse he had met during his recovery. They lived modestly, peacefully. Yet the war clung to him like a second skin. Men in the factory whispered, "That's Zaitsev, the sniper." Children stared at him with the same awe as soldiers once had. But Vasily avoided attention. When people asked, "How many did you kill?" he answered, "I saved my comrades. That is all." 4. A meeting with the enemy. Decades later, in the 1960s, a delegation of German veterans visited the Soviet Union for historical discussions. A historian approached Vasily. "Comrade Zaitsev, would you attend?" Zaitsev hesitated, then agreed. He walked into a quiet room where older German men with white hair sat with cautious expressions. One German veteran approached him. "You are Zaitsev?" "Yes," Vasily answered calmly. The German lowered his head. "I lost 2 friends in Stalingrad. One was a sniper." Vasily looked into the man's tired eyes. "I did what I had to," he said. The German nodded slowly. "So did we." There was a long silence, not hostile, not warm, just human. They shook hands. The war felt a little further away that day. 5. Life fades slowly. In the 1970s and 1980s, Zaitsev grew older. His vision worsened. His hands trembled. But he still held his old sniper rifle sometimes, not to shoot, but to remember. He kept it clean. He oiled the wood. He whispered stories to his grandchildren. The cold, the snow, the ruined factories, the bravery of his comrades. But he never told them about the kills. He told them about survival. 6. The final winter. In December 1991, the same month the Soviet Union collapsed, Vasily Zaitsev passed away quietly in a hospital bed in Kiev. No rifle, no ruins, no snow. Just a quiet heartbeat slowly fading. A nurse later said, "He died with a peaceful face, like someone who finally put down a heavy load." In 2006, his remains were moved to Volgograd, formerly Stalingrad. Russian soldiers buried him with honors. A sniper stood at attention, young, focused, alive. He whispered before firing the salute, "Thank you, grandfather." Vasily Zaitsev. Part 4. The Hunter Who Became a Legend. Volgograd, Stalingrad, Nashi dni. Volgograd's winter is quieter now. No artillery, no smoke, no screams. Just snow falling softly on the Mamayev Kurgan, settling over the giant monument of motherland like a gentle shroud. Here, in the soil once soaked with blood, the memory of Vasily Zaitsev still breathes. Tourists stand near his grave, reading the inscription. Some whisper, some take photos, some simply stand in silence, letting history wash over them. Few realize they are looking at the resting place of a man who once hunted across this very ground with a rifle that seemed an extension of his soul. 1. The sniper who changed warfare. Historians studying urban combat agree on one thing. Stalingrad rewrote the rules of sniping, and Zaitsev was the author. His methods are still taught today. Micro-movements. Moving only when sound covers you. Bomb blasts, artillery, tank engines. 3-position tactic. Setting 3 firing points in a triangle, rotating through them so the enemy can't identify the real nest. Patient stalking. Waiting hours for one target, even in freezing temperatures. Breath discipline. His breathing technique is still used by elite snipers worldwide. Spotter teamwork. His work with Kulikov became the blueprint for modern sniper-spotter dynamics. Psychological warfare. His presence alone crippled German morale. A German report from 1942 said, "Zaitsev is not just a sniper, he is a terror." Yet Vasily never boasted about kills, he boasted about his students. 2. The myth that grew larger than the man. After the war, writers, filmmakers, and veterans all contributed to the mythos of Zaitsev. Some legends grew. That he killed over 400 Germans, that he hunted noble SS officers, that he dueled famous enemy snipers, that he moved through ruins like smoke, that he never missed. In truth, Zaitsev himself always laughed at the exaggerations. "I wasn't a hero," he once said. "I was a hunter who did his job." But the myth grew anyway, because Stalingrad demanded heroes, and he was the one who stepped forward. 3. Ghost of Stalingrad. Workers restoring the old department store in the 1990s reported a strange feeling in the basement. One said, "When the wind blew through the windows, you could almost hear a rifle click." Another, "It felt like someone was watching you, someone patient." Of course, these are just stories, ghost tales told to tourists. But there is truth in them. Zaitsev became part of the city. He bled here. He nearly died here. He hunted here. Stalingrad is his echo. 4. Modern snipers honor him. In Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Serbia, young snipers entering service still hear the name Zaitsev in their first weeks of training. Some carry medals with his portrait. Others write his quotes inside their notebooks. A Ukrainian sniper instructor in 2010 said, "Zaitsev is not about killing. He is about patience, courage, and the understanding that one man can protect thousands." American instructors studying Stalingrad say the same. Because Zaitsev didn't teach killing, he taught discipline, survival, calm in madness. Lessons timeless as war itself. 5. The rifle that lived. Zaitsev's Mosin Nagant was recovered after the battle, scratched, worn, cold as the Volga wind. Today it rests in the Central Armed Forces Museum in Moscow. Visitors stare at it through glass. A simple rifle, wood, metal, nothing extraordinary. Yet this piece of steel changed the fate of a city. An elderly man once stood before the display whispering, "My father survived Stalingrad because that man killed the sniper who hunted his unit." He wiped his eyes and left a flower. 6. The final judgment of history. When historians analyze Zaitsev, they don't see a killer, a machine, or a cold instrument of death. They see something more nuanced, a shepherd who defended his land, a hunter who protected his comrades, A quiet man thrown into the greatest inferno of the 20th century. Was he perfect? No hero is. Did he save lives by taking others? Yes. Was he a product of his time and war? Absolutely. But more importantly, he fought so others wouldn't die in his place. 7. The legacy of a ghost. Vasily Zaitsev died peacefully, but his legend walks on broken bricks and frozen ruins every winter when Volgograd becomes quiet and snow falls softly over Mamayev Kurgan. Sometimes tourists swear they feel a chill at his grave even when the air is warm. Sometimes snipers claim they hear whisper-like advice when they steady their rifles. Sometimes soldiers passing through the city touch his stone and murmur, "Not one step back." And the city whispers back, "Thank you." Because Stalingrad remembers its hunter, and history remembers the man who once looked into the jaws of hell and refused to blink.